since 1937 and Japan's invasion of China, reached Europe on the 1st of September 1939 with Germany's invasion of Poland. It became global on the 7th of December 1941 when Japanese aircraft attacked the American naval base at Pearl Harbor. It touched every continent and lasted for 6 years. It ended with a new weapon for a new age. This is the history of the greatest of all man-made events. These men are part of that history. They are eyewitnesses to the triumphs and tragedies of the war wherever it was fought. Their testimony is part of the story of how our world was made. By those who could pay and those who could no longer meet. The price of empire. The military fights wars, but wars are made by political leaders and they fight with words. During 1943, the leaders fired off countless words. After Stalingrad, Midway and Guadalcanal, El Alamein and the Torch Landings, the leaders of the Grand Coalition, as Churchill dubbed it, the United Nations, as Roosevelt called them, planned how best to secure victory and how to arrange the post-war world at conference after conference. Because they talked, the Allies, as commentators have noted, fought one war on two fronts. Axis powers fought two wars, Germany in Europe and Japan in Asia. For both of them, 1943 would be, in many ways, the beginning of the end. The first conference of 1943, codenamed Symbol, was held in Casablanca in French Morocco in January. Churchill, Roosevelt and the leaders of the Free French met to plan their European strategy for the next phase of the war. Joseph Stalin, citing the ongoing conflict in Stalingrad as his reason, declined to attend.
They discussed our offensive strategy for this year, in which it's intended to hit the enemy's smashing blows on new fronts.
President Roosevelt delivered the most provocative statement. At the conference's close, he said, possibly without consulting his allies, the elimination of German, Japanese and Italian war power means the unconditional surrender of Germany, Japan and Italy. Once out of the box, it was something that could not be put back. There would be no armistice, no truce, no compromise. Germany and Japan learned that one can start a war, but it takes two to make peace. A Washington conference codenamed Trident followed in May. Quebec conference, Quadrant, was held in August. Sextant, the Cairo conference in November, outlined the Allied position against Japan. It was attended by Roosevelt, Churchill and Chiang Kai-shek. Stalin did not attend. Chiang Kai-shek was Japan's bitter enemy and Stalin was not prepared to risk offending the Japanese and perhaps stirring them into attacking his eastern border by sitting at the same table as the Chinese leader. 2 days after Cairo, with Chiang safely back in China, Stalin met Roosevelt and Churchill for the Tehran Conference, the first meeting between the Big Three. Stalin received a commitment to opening a second front. But where? Churchill favoured the Balkan or Aegean options, but the locus of power had shifted, and Roosevelt opened proceedings by outlining the Normandy invasion plan, blindsiding Churchill and demonstrating that the Grand Coalition had become the Big Two, who would dominate the post-war years.
A terrific conference, planning to make certain of the destruction of the German forces in the shortest possible time. And these are some of the men carrying responsibility for that most desirable objective.
Japan was also concerned to draw together its partners for a show of unity. Prime Minister Tojo convened the Greater East Asia Conference, attended by Chiang Jin-wei, Prime Minister of Manchukuo, Wang Qingwei, head of the reorganized National Government of China, Ba Maw from Burma, Subhas Chandra Bose from India, Jose Laurel from the Philippines, and Prince Wan Wattayakon from Thailand. Not many were convinced. As early as 1936, the Chinese political activist Du Xiong-yuan had written, "Pan-Asianism is Japanese imperialism, nothing more, nothing less." Through these 12 months of conferencing, the war on the battlefields had been developing decisively. American troops first went into action with Operation Torch in North Africa, where the Axis was reinforcing Tunis from the sea. General Jürgen von Arnim commanded the German forces. Erwin Rommel's Panzerarmee Africa, withdrawing through Tripolitania, was moving to join him, and overall command passed to General Vittorio Ambrosio. At the beginning of February, the Germans launched offensives. Von Arnim's called Spring Wind turned back and cut off American forces around Sidi Bou Sid. Rommel, his operation was called Morning Wind, seized Gafsa. The American troops were battle-ready. They had been through basic training.
Basic training is a brutal thing. 6 weeks of basic training, you're ready to kill your best friend. Every morning, it was very simple. You got up and you were told this: kill or be killed. Every single day.
Battle-ready was not battle-hardened. They were raw recruits who got their noses bloodied as Rommel and von Arnim pressed ahead. Rommel was making for the Kasserine Pass, a 3-kilometer wide gap in the Atlas Mountains. February the 19th, he seized the pass. Its American defenders withdrew in disorderly fashion. Rommel lacked the support he needed, von Arnim hanging on to his heavy armor. The Allies quickly reformed and reorganized. By the 20th, Rommel had been held. By the 24th, the Allies were starting to claw back the Axis gains. Their forward momentum could not be halted from this point. Gafsa was retaken by Patton, the New Zealand Corps broke through the Tebaga Gap, and the final assault on Tunis began on May the 6th. It fell a day later, and General Alexander, commanding 18th Army Group, signalled Churchill, "We are masters of the North African shore." Mastery had come at a cost. There were 75,000 Allied casualties, 300,000 on the Axis side, of whom 240,000 were prisoners. It was a setback for Hitler. For Mussolini, for whom support had collapsed because of losses on the Eastern Front, where 75,000 Italians had been killed and 50,000 repatriated with wounds, frostbite or disease, it was a complete catastrophe. His imperial dream was in tatters.